Pulse Talk, bringing insights into health and wellness with your hosts, Christine and Alex.
All right, so today we're going to do a deep dive on something that I think a lot of people are curious about.
Okay.
And that is influenza,
Uh-huh.
better known as the flu.
Right.
We are going to unpack a few things about the flu.
Sounds good.
What makes it different from a cold?
Okay.
Why it can actually be pretty dangerous, and how you can protect yourself.
Very important.
Yeah. Especially
Really now.
with flu season upon us.
Right.
We have got two great sources to help us with this.
Okay.
One from Alpro Pharmacy, all about prevention, and another one from the Straits Times, which covers a recent case of the flu turning deadly.
Oh, wow.
So buckle up
Okay.
and get ready for some surprising facts along the way.
I'm ready.
Okay, so first things first.
Yeah.
How can we tell if it's a cold or the flu?
Right.
They seem kind of similar, right?
Yeah, I mean, initially, for sure, like, they both can start with a runny nose and, sore throat and sneezing and stuff like that.
Right.
But the flu hits you much faster and harder.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The symptoms are very intense.
Okay.
High fever, chills, headache,
Oh, my gosh.
cough, sore throat, muscle aches, fatigue.
Wow.
Both sources mention that.
Yeah.
Some people even get nausea or diarrhea.
Oh, gosh, that's awful.
There's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
Not fun.
And speaking of all those symptoms,
Yeah?
the Straits Times article mentions this actress,
Right.
Barbie Hsu,
Yes.
who sadly passed away from flu complications.
Yeah, that was a really sad story.
Yeah, and I think that was a wake-up call for a lot of people.
For sure. It really highlighted that while most people recover from the flu without major issues,
Right.
it can be very unpredictable.
Yeah.
And certain groups need to be extra cautious.
Right. Both sources list high-risk groups,
Yeah.
like people over 65,
Yes.
young children,
Yes.
pregnant women,
Uh-huh.
and anyone with a weakened immune system.
Exactly.
But let's back up a bit.
Okay.
Can you explain the flu virus itself?
Sure.
There are different types, right?
Yeah. So there are actually a few different types of influenza viruses, A, B, C, and D.
Wow.
But the ones that you really need to look out for are influenza A and B.
Okay.
Those are the ones that are behind most seasonal outbreaks.
Gotcha.
And these viruses are constantly evolving, which is why we see different strains circulating each flu season.
So evolving like they're getting smarter or something?
In a way, yes. They change over time, which is why it's so important to get vaccinated every year.
Okay, so how do we actually catch the flu?
So it spreads through these things called respiratory droplets.
What are those?
Basically tiny particles that are released when someone coughs or sneezes.
How?
And these droplets, they can travel through the air and land in your nose or mouth, or you can pick them up by touching contaminated surfaces and then touching your face.
So it's like invisible warfare.
Pretty much.
And someone can spread it before they even show symptoms.
Exactly. They might be spreading it without even knowing it.
That's scary.
Yeah.
So what happens inside our bodies when we get infected?
Okay, so once the virus enters your body, it starts to replicate really rapidly.
Okay.
And it attacks the cells in your respiratory tract. As it multiplies, your body triggers this immune response to try to fight it off.
Right.
And that's what causes those classic flu symptoms that we talked about.
Oh, so all those symptoms are from our body's own immune response.
Yeah, that's why you feel so terrible. It's like inflammation, fever, aches, fatigue.
So it's not the virus making you feel bad, it's your own body.
Exactly.
That's wild.
It's exhausting.
It really does sound exhausting.
Yeah.
So why do some people get so much sicker than others?
It depends on a few things.
Okay.
Like your overall health, your age, your vaccination status.
Okay.
Like if you have a weakened immune system for whatever reason, you might not be able to fight off the virus as effectively.
Right.
Which can lead to complications.
That's kind of where the Barbie Hsu case comes in.
Exactly. Her existing health conditions likely made her more susceptible to those severe complications.
So it's a reminder that the flu can have serious consequences,
Yes.
even for younger adults.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the importance of prevention.
Right.
The most effective weapon we have is...
The flu vaccine.
Yes.
Wow.
Alpro Pharmacy really emphasizes getting vaccinated, especially for those high-risk groups that we talked about.
Right.
But I know some people say that the flu shot doesn't work.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
What's up with that?
Yeah, what's up with that?
Well, so the flu vaccine's effectiveness does vary from year to year.
Oh, really?
You remember how we talked about those evolving viruses?
Right. Those sneaky viruses?
Yeah, so scientists try to predict which strains will be most prevalent,
Oh,
and they create a vaccine to match.
okay.
Sometimes the prediction is spot on and the vaccine offers great protection,
Awesome.
but other times the match isn't perfect
Oh, no.
and the vaccine's effectiveness is lower.
So it's kind of a guessing game,
A little bit.
but it's still worth getting. even if it's not a 100% guarantee.
Absolutely. Think of it like wearing a seatbelt.
Okay.
It might not prevent every accident,
Right.
but it can significantly reduce the risk of serious injury.
That's a good analogy.
And plus, even if you do get the flu after being vaccinated, the symptoms are usually much milder.
That's good.
Yeah, so it's definitely worth it.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
So what about herd immunity?
Oh, yeah.
I remember that term from the Alpro Pharmacy article.
So herd immunity is a really powerful concept.
Okay.
When a large portion of the population is vaccinated, it creates this protective barrier
Okay.
that makes it harder for the virus to spread.
Interesting.
And this is especially important for those who can't get vaccinated,
Like who?
like babies or people with certain medical conditions.
Right.
So it's like a community shield protecting the most vulnerable.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So getting vaccinated is not just about individual protection.
Right.
It's about our responsibility to those around us.
It's like a community effort
Exactly.
to protect everyone.
Yeah. It's about protecting ourselves and contributing to the well-being of our community.
I never thought about it like that before.
It's important.
Yeah.
But, herd immunity is just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
There are other things we can do to prevent the spread of the virus.
Like what?
Well, the Straits Times article outlines some pretty simple but effective strategies.
Oh, if you
Things like,
washing our hands.
yes, washing our hands frequently and thoroughly is one of the most effective ways to prevent the spread of germs.
Okay, but what if soap and water aren't available?
Then hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol is a good backup.
Okay, good to know.
And remember those respiratory droplets we talked about?
Hmm.
Covering your mouth and nose when you cough or sneeze really helps to contain those droplets.
It's basic etiquette, really.
Exactly.
And of course, stay home when you're sick.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
It's so tempting to push through it.
I know, I do it all the time.
But staying home prevents spreading the virus to others.
That's-
And try to avoid close contact with people who are sick, especially during flu season.
Right, that makes sense.
So just to recap,
Okay.
get vaccinated, wash your hands frequently, cover those coughs and sneezes, stay home when sick, and avoid close contact with sick people.
Easy enough?
These simple actions can make a huge difference in preventing the spread of influenza.
So to recap,
Yes.
get vaccinated,
Mm-hmm.
wash your hands frequently,
Yes.
cover those coughs and sneezes,
Mhm.
stay home when sick,
Yeah.
and avoid close contact with sick people.
Exactly. Those simple actions can have a huge impact on protecting ourselves and our communities.
It's fascinating how, individual actions can have such a ripple effect
Right.
on public health.
It all adds up.
Yeah, it makes you think about things in a whole new light.
It's for sure.
So we've covered a lot of ground already, but there's so much more to explore.
Definitely.
What about the impact of vaccination on society as a whole?
Oh, that's a good question.
We touched on herd immunity,
Mm-hmm.
but are there other implications?
Well, one major benefit is the reduced strain on healthcare systems.
Oh, okay.
So when fewer people get sick, it means fewer hospitalizations, fewer doctor visits, and fewer resources needed to manage those big flu outbreaks.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It frees up healthcare professionals to focus on other health issues,
Exactly.
and it prevents hospitals from being overwhelmed during flu season.
Right, and that ensures that everyone who needs medical care can access it.
That's a good point.
But there's more to it than just the healthcare system.
Okay.
Think about the economic impact. Oh, that's interesting.
Well, when people get sick, they miss work,
Right.
which leads to lost productivity and wages.
Yeah.
And this affects individuals' businesses
Yeah.
and the overall economy.
Okay.
The costs of healthcare, those lost work days, and that decreased productivity can add up to a significant economic burden.
So preventing the flu isn't just about health. It's about protecting our livelihoods
Absolutely.
and the economy as a whole.
Exactly. It's another compelling reason to prioritize prevention measures like vaccination.
For sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of vaccination,
Uh-huh.
the Alpro Pharmacy article mentioned that older adults might not develop as strong an immunity from the flu shot.
Yeah, that's true.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it is true that as we age, our immune systems naturally weaken.
Okay.
And this can make vaccines less effective for seniors,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't mean that it's not worth getting vaccinated.
So any level of protection is better than none.
Exactly. Even if the vaccine doesn't provide complete protection for older adults.
It can still significantly reduce the severity of their illness
Okay.
and lower the risk of hospitalization and even death.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's really important for them to still get vaccinated.
And remember, even partial immunity contributes to herd immunity,
Right.
which protects the community as a whole.
Exactly. Vaccination is a great example of individual actions having positive consequences for society.
I never thought about it like that before.
It's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
There's another societal impact of the flu that we often overlook.
Okay, what's
The
that?
impact on people with chronic illnesses.
Right. The Straits Times article touched on this briefly.
Yeah, it mentioned that influenza can worsen the symptoms of other chronic diseases.
Could you elaborate on that a bit?
Sure. So for people with conditions like heart disease, lung disease, or diabetes,
Cool.
the flu can be particularly dangerous because their bodies are already fighting one battle.
Right.
Adding the flu on top of that creates another layer of stress and can lead to complications like pneumonia, heart attacks, or strokes.
That's really scary.
It is, and it makes the case of Barbie Hsu even more tragic.
Yeah.
It's a stark reminder that the flu can be unpredictable and that those with underlying health issues need to be extra cautious.
Right.
Getting vaccinated is crucial, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also important to manage their existing conditions effectively.
Like how?
By taking medications as prescribed,
Okay.
maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and consulting their doctors regularly.
And following those general prevention strategies we talked about earlier.
Right, like hand washing, covering coughs and sneezes, staying home when sick, and avoiding close contact with sick people.
Exact.
Those measures are even more crucial for individuals who are more vulnerable to complications.
Makes sense.
It's all about minimizing risk and protecting their health.
Right. And don't hesitate to seek medical attention if you experience any unusual or concerning symptoms,
Exactly. Early intervention can make all the difference.
especially if you have a chronic illness.
For sure.
Now, you mentioned other societal impacts of influenza.
Yeah.
What else comes to mind?
There's one area we haven't touched on yet, the psychological impact.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't really thought about that before.
You know, feeling exhausted, achy, and feverish can definitely affect your mood.
Yeah.
And then the isolation that often comes with being sick
Right?
can lead to feelings of loneliness and depression, especially for those who live alone or have limited social support.
And in cases where serious complications arise,
Right.
the psychological impact can be even more profound.
Absolutely. For both the individual and their loved ones.
That's true.
It's important to acknowledge the emotional toll that the flu can take
Yeah.
and to offer support and understanding to those who are struggling.
This deep dive is really making me rethink how I view influenza.
Me too.
It's so much more than just a bad cold.
For sure.
We've covered so much ground from the biology of the virus
Mm-hmm.
to the social, economic, and even psychological implications.
It's a big topic.
It really is.
Yeah.
What else can we learn from our sources?
Well, the Alpro Pharmacy article delves into some additional prevention strategies.
Oh, that's right. Beyond vaccination and basic hygiene.
So what else can we do to protect ourselves?
Well, the Alpro Pharmacy article talks about a few simple lifestyle changes that can actually make a big difference.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like, for example, getting enough sleep.
Oh, that's always a good one.
Right. It's not just about feeling rested.
Okay.
When you're sleep deprived, your immune system actually weakens,
Oh, really?
making you more vulnerable to infections like the flu.
So stemming for like 7 to 8 hours a night really does matter.
It makes a big difference. And along those same lines, managing stress is important too.
Okay.
Chronic stress.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it suppresses your immune response, leaving you more susceptible to getting sick. I can definitely see that connection.
Yeah, it's important.
So what are some healthy ways to manage stress?
I mean, there's so many options.
Yeah.
It could be exercise meditations, spending time in nature,
Yeah.
anything that helps you relax and unwind.
You find what works for you.
Exactly.
Okay, and let's not forget about diet.
Yes, diet is so important. We can't underestimate the power of a balanced diet.
Right.
Eating plenty of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
It provides your body with the essential vitamins and minerals that it needs to support a strong immune system.
So it all comes back to those healthy habits that we know we should be doing anyway.
Right.
Sleep, stress management, and good nutrition.
It all plays a role.
They're all connected.
They're not just good for our overall health, but they specifically play a role in boosting our immunity and resilience against infections like the flu.
I love that this deep dive is really making me rethink how I view influenza.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's so much more than just a bad cold.
Yeah, we've explored it from all these different angles, from the science behind the viruses
Yeah.
to the practical steps we can take to protect ourselves and our communities.
It's fascinating.
It's all interconnected.
It is individual health, public health, the economy, even our mental well-being.
Right. It's all intertwined.
It really highlights how we're all in this together.
Yeah, for sure. So what final thoughts would you leave our listeners with?
Well, I would just say knowledge is power.
That's true.
The more we understand about influenza, the better equipped we are to make informed decisions about our health and the health of our communities.
Well said. And don't hesitate to reach out to your healthcare provider if you have any questions or concerns.
Exactly. They're a great resource
Your best resource.
for personalized advice.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey into the world of influenza.
It's been fun.
We hope you feel empowered to stay healthy this flu season.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. Until next time, stay curious.